Would you believe it? 4 generations of Seat Leon. How fast has time flown? Too quick as it seems. The 2021 Leon I'll be reviewing today is a great example of how far down it has come. Not only is it a horrendous looking car, but every other consumer would rather buy a Golf. Number one, because the Leon is just another cheaper Golf that isn't actually that cheap. And number two, you can't even get multi-link rear suspension anymore, unlike the Mark III. Anyway, let's jump into the video. The model variant that I'm reviewing today is the 2021 Leon Evo SE with the 1 litre petrol engine that's currently pushing 108 brake horsepower and 148 pounds-foot of torque. It will take you 10.6 seconds to get up to 60 miles per hour, and it will top out at 122 miles per hour, which is not that bad for a 3-cylinder engine considering it's slow as a dog. If you want to buy a similar car to this, entry level with minimal or no options, it will cost you £21,000. Car tax is roughly £155 a year, as it only emits 110 grams per kilometre of CO2, and insurance, since it's got a tiny engine, it will be extremely cheap as well. I reviewed a 2017 Mark III Leon last year, and that car was just a smidge under £10,000. And I'll be honest, you just can't justify spending the additional £11,000 on this car. In terms of the boot, well, same as the previous generation, you get 380 litres of space. So in reality, for a hatchback, that's more than enough. You get plenty of tethering points as well, and check this out, you get a LED light inside the boot instead of a halogen one. Unfortunately though, there is some negatives. There is a massive load lip, so it makes items getting out the back a bit of a nightmare. In terms of the looks department, it's very subjective. The front reminds me of if Mazda and Jaguar had a baby, and in back it looks like a middle-aged bloke with a massive unibrow. Both, I regret to say, are unattractive things. I will admit the Leon does have a nice silhouette, but the things that really annoy me is the suspension setup. Torsion beam across the range. Penny pinching VW didn't fit this car with fully independent rear suspension, which is a real spit in the face for Leon owners. As for the rear seats, there's a generous amount of room in it, plenty of space, and this is partially due to the fact that the Leon is now a little bit longer than the older car. One super cool feature in back though is you get this seat belt holder that holds the seat belt so it doesn't catch onto anything. Very nice thinking there, whoever came up with that. Next up, we move over to the main half of the Seat Leon interior, and you'll instantly notice there's a complete lack of buttons in here. Now, a lot of people on the internet did moan about this, and they said they didn't like the lack of physical tactile buttons and the fact it was just so unergonomic. But every manufacturer now uses the system and it is getting better. So I think it's a good move for Seat and a good change for the Leon. The remaining buttons in this car though are in weird positions. For example, like the front and rear window demister is on my right hand side, right by my right knee. Bit unusual, but we can forgive it because you get this pulsating engine start-stop button, which means it's alive and ready to go. And also you get these touch sensitive LED interior lights, which at night gives the cabin more of a premium look inside. In terms of the infotainment system, you get this 8.25-inch display directed towards the driver, and you can configure the home screen by swiping up and down on these boxes. Apparently these diagonal boxes were inspired by some diagonal streets in Barcelona, but yeah, there you go, a useless fact that you now know. It also does come with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, which is actually great, but owners have reported that it's super laggy and glitchy during day-to-day use. The storage space in this car is excellent. You get massive door bins, 2 cup holders, some storage down here in the center, and the glove box, you get a dual storage compartment thing going on, which is plenty of space. I do like the design on the door bins though. Well, just next to the door bins on the door cards, you've got the speaker integrated into the rest of the door design. I think that's actually pretty neat, and it hides the ugliness of the door cards even. Anyway, enough waffle, let's go for a drive. So, driving the Mark IV Seat Leon, what's it like? Well, put it this way, It's extremely boring and extremely freaking dull. It doesn't offer much apart from the fact that it's comfortable and a competent car, but that's it. You get 6 trim levels with the Seat Leon. It starts off with the SE, which is this one. You go on to the SE Dynamic, and then FR, FR Sport, and then Excellence and Excellence Lux, I think. My pick of the range would be none of them, because with the same money, you could get a way better car with your eyes closed. There is a range of engines to choose from. It starts off with the 1 litre one, which we're in right now, and then you can get a 1.5, which have 2 options. You could get the 150 PS or the detuned 130 PS. You can also get that engine with a hybrid. Not too sure how fast that one is, but I'd rather go for the 1.4 ETSI if you are going to go for a hybrid, as that one is a plug-in one. There is also 2 diesel engines you can get, but I'm not even going to go into it because they're both worthless and powerless and crap. Handling is, it's unfortunately pretty bad and shocking, I must say. Don't forget this car weighs 1.3 tons. And when you're going around a tight bend, tight corner, you do realise you are understeering a lot. If it did have multi-link rear suspension, you'd probably be more or less oversteering, and the back end would be flicking out a little bit, but unfortunately it's not, and it is a downfall on the handling side. The gear shifts aren't actually that bad, I'll be honest with you. It's a little bit on the notchy side, and the throws are really long, but you know, I've driven worse cars. I'm sat on the motorway right now, well, dual carriageway, and there's a lot of road noise. It's not good at all. And these are probably the smallest tyres you could get. Now that's pretty bad, that's pretty worrying. Right, I'm at 4,000 RPM. I'm gonna floor it. Let's see if you could actually hear anything from this 1 litre 3-cylinder engine. Right, 3, 2, 1. 4.5, 5,000. No, not that much. I'm gonna have to do a second gear one actually. Right guys, let's give it a pull. 1 litre car, 3 cylinders. Second gear, 3,000 RPM. 5,000. Wow, you literally can't hear anything. Even though this car, you know, it's not the top spec, it's an entry-level one. It doesn't come with front parking sensors, and you know, you'd expect like a normal bumper, right, with no sensors showing. Well, there's holes in the front bumper where the front sensors would go, and it's so obvious and it's so tacky. I don't know why Seat have done that. Just a really big downfall for owners of this car. Now it's time for that part of the review to switch over to point of view driving, so you guys get a perspective of what it's like to drive from my perspective. So give me 1 second, let me pull over and switch over to point of view. Right, point of view, what do you guys think? Do you like it? I mean, you don't get the big 10-inch display, it's an 8.25-inch display on this SE trim level. It's the only trim level with the 8.25-inch display, in fact. One thing that is super bloody annoying in this car though is the lane keep assist. It tugs at you when you don't want it to and pulls. It's, you know, it's shockingly bad. It is shockingly bad. I do recommend you turn it off every time you get in this car. Another annoying thing in this car is it randomly, there we go, lane keep assist being annoying again. Sorry, what my point? Yes, my point. It will throw up random little eco tips, you know, put the window up during on the motorway or whatever like that to save fuel, and it'll throw these little tips up on this little digital screen at random times, and it's so annoying. Like, just let me get on with my day-to-day usual tasks. So I'm already bloody bored of it. It's not even been an hour since I've been driving this car, and it's there's nothing exciting about it every time you get in, but that may be what some people want at the end of the day. We are currently averaging, we were doing something pretty good, but let me get up the data here, driving data. So since start, we are doing 39 mpg. That's all right. That's all right, considering I've been, you know, driving this car pretty hard, I would say. You know, with my foot to the floor in some instances. That's all right. 70 miles left of range. Right, stuck in traffic. What's the seating position like? It's all right, not too bad. You don't sit that far up. There's not much difference from the prior generation, but what it feels like exactly like an Audi A3. It's more similar to the Audi A3 now than the Golf, which is weird. Also, the Octavia, the Audi A3, Golf and this car all share the same interior. If you look at them, they are all very similar. And this one, it's the worst looking one out the bunch, without a doubt. The Audi is probably the best, and I hate saying that. Audi A3. So that's the in-depth tour and review around the 2021 Seat Leon. Personally, in hatchback terms, this car falls short, and in terms of enjoyment, it's a huge disaster. It's very rare that the prior generation car ends up being the better one, but for this instance, it is. In terms of the price, what was Seat thinking? £21,000 is way too much, and I hope the general public do realise that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next review.